Hey, you. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. You are listening to Asheville FM and WSFMLP 103.3 Asheville. And coming up next is Radioactive Kids.
Watch the sun, watch it rise with a smile, open eyes, say good morning. Every morning, what a wonderful way to greet each new day. Say good morning to you. Good morning, good morning. Brush the hair on your head, brush your teeth, make your bed. Look at each day in a new way. Take a chance, you can be what you wanna be, 'cause this morning is waiting, you'll see. If it's Monday,
good morning.
Tuesday, Wednesday,
Good morning.
Thursday, Friday,
Good morning.
Saturday, Sunday, good morning, good morning to each one of you. Good morning, good morning. Have a pancake or two, pack your lunch off to school, kiss your mommy and your daddy. What a wonderful way to greet each new day. Say good morning to you. If it's Monday,
Good morning.
Tuesday, Wednesday,
Good morning.
Thursday, Friday,
Good morning.
Saturday, Sunday, good morning to each one of you. Good morning. Watch the sun in the sky with a smile, watch it rise, say good morning. Every morning, what a wonderful way to greet each new day. Good morning to you. Good morning. Brush the hair on your head, brush your teeth, make your bed. Look at each day in a new way.
Take a chance, you can be what you want to be. Where did the count come from? Hey, y'all. I'm Sagan. This is Radioactive Kids. I decided to let our theme song play through all the way because we haven't done that in quite a while. Anyway, so we have an amazing show for you today. I guess this is actually sort of my lazy show because I am doing like an hour. Like 69 minutes worth of Bill Harley stories, just because I feel like it. Because you know it's freeform radio. I can do whatever I want. But we also have brand new music by Little Magic, Rashad Eggleston, and some other artists who I'm excited to play on the program. Let's get started, though, with something older from like 2017 that I somehow missed when it came out. Remember we played Sandra Boynton's Philadelphia Chickens last week on the show? Well, she's continued coming out with albums of that sort, and I just stumbled across one that I missed. I don't know how or why. It's called Hog Wild, a frenzy of dance music. And let's play a few songs from it right now. This first song is by Patrick Wilson. It's the title track, Hog Wild, on Radioactive Kids. Stay tuned, y'all. We got a lot of good stuff coming up.
Way out here in the countryside, we all like it nice and quiet. We all take it pretty slow, but every now and then we really go hog wild. We're gonna move our feet hog wild. We're gonna rock that beat, every man, woman, chicken, and child. Come on over now, cause we're going hog wild. Come on over now, cause we're going hog wild. Hey everybody, I'm telling you, dancing is the thing to do. I don't know what we're waiting for. I think we ought to go just a little bit more hog wild. We're gonna move our feet hog wild. We're gonna rock that beat, every man, woman, chicken, and child. Come on over now, cause we're going hog wild. Come on over now, cause we're going hog wild. Oh yeah. If you wanna have some fun, here's the way for everyone. Find out what it's all about. Get a little crazy and shake it out hog wild. We're gonna move our feet hog wild. We're gonna rock that beat, every man, woman, chicken, and child. Come on over now, cause we're going hog wild. Come on over now, cause we're going hog wild. Here we go, hog wild. We're gonna move our feet hog wild. We're gonna rock that beat hog wild. We're gonna dance all night hog wild. Till the sky is light, every man, woman, chicken, and child. Come on over now, cause we're going hog wild. Come on over now, cause we're going hog wild, hog wild. We're gonna move our feet hog wild. We're gonna rock that beat hog wild. We're gonna dance all night hog wild. Till the sky is light, every man, woman, chicken, and child. Come on over now, cause we're going hog wild. Come on over now, cause we're going hog wild. Come on over now, cause we're going hog wild. You know what? 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 Hog wild. Hog wild. Hog wild.
And it's a beautiful day for racing rats. Broadcast live from Rivertown Flats. And they're off! 100 rats take off in a pack. I don't see anyone hanging back. That's Rat 17 who's setting the pace. It's going to be an exciting race. Now Rat number 5 is taking the lead, but Rat 46 is picking up speed. Coming up fast in the outside lane, we've got Rat number 8, the Hurricane!
Running in circles, rat race, round and round. Why they do it, we don't know. Let them loose and watch them go.
Let him loose and watch him go. As the rats approach the switchback turn, the leading rat showed no concern. But out of nowhere, rocket fast, Rat 66 comes blazing past. Gaining on the inside 92, now Rat 38 is barreling through. Rat number 5 kicks into play, and it's neck and neck on the straightaway. The crowd goes wild.
Rat race, running in circles, rat race, round and round. Why they do it, we don't know. Let them loose and watch them go.
Just let him loose and watch him go. If you're just joining us here today, the Great Rat Race is underway. It's a perfect day for racing rats. Broadcast live from Rivertown Flats.
Rat race, keep up the pace.
Last year's winner has fallen back. He's lost somewhere in the middle of the pack. Rat number 5 is hugging the rail. Rat 78 is on his tail. Coming up fast, Rat 99 with Rat 13 running close behind. Now it's straight uphill, heading into the maze. Some of them won't come out for days. Now they're heading into the rat maze. I've got no idea who's in the lead.
Rats in a maze, running like crazy. Rats in a maze, so confused. Nobody knows which way to go. 100 rats running to and fro, and to and fro, and to and fro.
Because most of the rats don't have a clue, but a few of the rats have made it through. Rat 19 is good to go. 2 and 7 are looking slow. Rat 66 pulls out in front. Whoa, Rat 29 is out of the hunt. As they enter the turn, it's beginning to rain, and there seems to be a rabbit that we can't explain.
Rat race, running in circles, rat race, round and round. Why they do it, we don't know. Let them loose and watch them go, go, go.
We're in the home stretch. It's a sprint to the
Rat
finish.
race, pick up the pace. Rat race, pick up the pace.
26 is in the lead. 44 is gaining speed. Rat 88 kicks into gear. 6 and 7 are incredibly near. 40 moves into second place. Everybody's going at record pace. With flapping tails and flying fur, the entire track is just a blur. Wait! There seems to be no finish line. I guess we're going till the end of time.
Rat race, 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 rat race. bright lights all around. So many people and so much sound. City, 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 pretty city, pretty city. Slivers of sky, dazzle and glare. Everybody rushing, but I don't know where. City, 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 city. Nothing but commotion in the day or the dark. Way too many cars and there's nowhere to park. Steel hard buildings, impossibly tall. You cannot resist the siren call of the city. City, 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 city. Yeah, bright lights all around. So many people and so much sound. Slivers of sky, dazzle and glare. Everybody rushing, but I don't know where. City, 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 pretty city. Yeah, take me to the city. We go, go, go in a kind of a trance, connecting to the rhythm, and you feel the dance of the city. Feel the dance of the city. Of the city. Feel the dance of the city. Feel the dance. Feel the dance of the city. Feel the dance. Feel the dance. Feel the dance. I love the city. City.
Oh yeah, that was City by the Falls Mountain Cowboys and Caitlin McEwen from Sandra Boynton's newest compilation album, Hog Wild, released in 2017. Before that, we heard Stanley Tucci in a song called Rat Race, and we started that set off with Hog Wild by Patrick Wilson. I am Sagan. This is Radioactive Kids. Remember, you can check the show out on Facebook and Instagram if you so wish. You can also check out the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. Literally anywhere. Like, you can find it like on your doorstep if you get podcasts there. You probably don't, though. Anyway, I need to stop. Let's play some more new music right now by a new group called Miss Lynn's Rainbow Machine. They just came out with their WEP called Animal Friends. And this first song we're going to play is called Animal Best Friends. Hope you enjoy it. This is Radioactive Kids.
and they started hanging out and playing all the time, and they became animal best friends, 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 an elephant and a dog. that polar bear's gonna eat my dogs. But much to his surprise, it did not eat the dogs. It wanted to be friends with the dogs. He started playing with them and then coming back to visit frequently so that they could play. Maybe he was lonely, and dogs are really friendly, and they became animal best friends. 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 Polar bear and dogs. Yes, so many examples of animals reaching across species and becoming best friends with each other. Indeed, more often than not, this is due to human interference. But no matter, it's still the most wonderful thing in the world. Can you think of an unlikely animal friendship that you would like to see? Like maybe a donkey and a beaver? Or like a cat and a big huge cow? Animal best friends. 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 The most wonderful, cutest thing in the world is animal best friends. Animal best friends. Earthworms. Earthworms. Squiggling and squirming deep in the dirt, tilling the soil and digesting earth. You've been doing what you do for billions of years, without eyes and without ears. You are a little intestine who nourishes soil, can wrap around rocks like a ladle coil. Thank you so much, earthworms, for everything that you do. Without you, we couldn't grow food. And I quite enjoy eating, so I'd like to tip my hat and acknowledge that you are totally amazing, even though you look a little weird. Earthworms. Earthworms. Squiggling and squirming deep in the dirt, tilling the soil and digesting earth. You don't have noses and yet you still smell. Receptors in your bodies, you can tell where you gotta go and what you need to do. Earthworms, I really admire you. Thank you so much, earthworms, for everything that you do. Without you, we couldn't grow food. And I quite enjoy eating, so I'd like to tip my hat and acknowledge that you are totally amazing, even though you look a little weird. Who cares? Earthworms. 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 Marshmallow pie. Marshmallow pie. Oh, Mama, why can't I have marshmallows all the time? Mama says you gotta eat your greens. As unjust and unfair as it seems, you gotta eat your greens so that you can grow up up strong and your brain works right and you can be a healthy adult, listen. You have got to eat your greens. Ice cream. Ice cream. Ice cream. Auntie, why are you so mean? Why can't I have ice cream every single day of the week? Auntie says you gotta eat your greens, as unjust and unfair as it seems. You gotta eat your greens so that you can grow up strong, so that your brain works right, so you can be a healthy adult. Listen, you have got to eat your greens. Could just have candy whenever I please. Look, I understand. Sugar is delicious, I get it, man. But you just can't eat it all the time. In fact, sometimes you just have to eat something nutritious and also delicious, which greens are sometimes delicious, and they are full of nutrients and good for your body, and you're gonna thank me in the end. Listen, you have got to eat your greens, please.
That's a very reasonable approach to the eat your vegetables song, you know? Like, it's logical, right? You know, that was "Eat Your Greens" by Miss Lynn's Rainbow Machine from her WEP, Animal Best Friends. Before that, we heard Earthworms and the title track "Animal Best Friends." Excuse me, the EP was actually called "Animal Friends." A little confusing, but there you go. Let's play some more new music now by Little Magic. They have another bonus track that they released as part of their on their website only. It's called Flight, and let's play it right now on Radioactive Kids. This is Asheville FM. I am Sagan, and I hope you're enjoying the show.
Was a dream for so long, so little was right, so much we got wrong, so many believed that it couldn't be done, but we made it happen, we soared towards the sun. First balloons floated up by heated air, with a basket beneath we could travel somewhere, gazing below you'd see land passing by, a miraculous view we had from the sky. Then came the gliders with strange bird-like wings. So many contraptions, so many strange things.
What next? How about weird electronic pop music from Rashad Eggleston? That sounds like a good idea. That was a special bonus track by Punk for Families from their next album, which is in the making. You may recall us playing stuff from their debut self-titled album a few weeks ago. That is called Run, and it's the selection for Kindy Lost and Found this week. Even though it might end up on an album in the future, it's not on an album right now, and you cannot find it anywhere. Hope you enjoyed hearing that. Before that, we heard some weird electronic pop music by Rashad Eggleston. He does all sorts of weird stuff. So that was from his album called Electrophonic Party Jams. The song's called Western Delight Party. And we started that set off with Flight by Little Magic, which is a bonus track from their website. All right, I am Sagan. This is Radioactive Kids. Let's see. So I want to play a whole bunch of Bill Harley, so some of his really long stories, because they don't get played on the radio, and I don't have very many new things to play. I'm kind of lazy this week, and most importantly, his stuff is awesome. So let's play it right now. How about it, y'all? We're gonna play two stories from his amazing live album, Yes to Running, Bill Harley Live, and one story from his Blah 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 album. First story is from the live album. It's called The Teacher's Lounge. And I know if you're a kid, you might have dealt with a situation like this one. And if you do, I hope you enjoy this story. And if you're not a kid, I hope you enjoy it anyway. Whoever's listening to it, even aliens, if you're listening to this, I hope you enjoy the story. This is called The Teacher's Lounge, and it's by Bill Harley, live on, I think it was back in 2008 on Radioactive Kids.
By the time I'd gotten halfway through second grade, I had been in every room in Delaware Trails Elementary School except for one. I'd been in all the classrooms because I was Mrs. Elliott's little messenger. I'll talk about that in a minute. I'd been to the principal's office once on a field trip. I had been to the nurse's office. I had been to the music room. I'd been in the custodian's office. I'd seen the huge boiler there. I'd even been in the girls' bathroom once on a dare. There's only one room I had not been in, and neither had any of my friends. The teacher's lounge. All the other doors at Delaware Trail Elementary School had these little long, narrow windows so you could look in and see what was going on. Not the teacher's lounge. Teacher's lounge, solid oaken door, always shut. Always shut. Said, teacher's lounge, staff only. Never been in there. Don't bother her, they'd say. She's in the teacher's lounge. Second grade, I used to walk by and look out at those words and try to figure out what they meant. You know, because you guess as a kid. We think we teach children, but mostly, like adults, they learn by guessing. They just make these guesses and they find out if they're right or wrong or not. I would look at those words. Teacher's lounge, staff only. What does that word mean? Lounge. I don't know what that... And then I realized my dad had a lounge chair. It was on the porch. On the screen porch in the summer. He'd sit out there in the lounge chair and he'd bring the portable television on and turn it on and watch the baseball game and drink beer. No wonder they like going in there. But the other words were even more confusing. Staff only. Staff, what does that mean? English is such a confusing language. It could mean 7 or 8 different things. I said, let me see. Well, I wasn't real good at Sunday school, but it seemed to me I remembered that Moses had a staff. It was a big stick. They've got sticks in there. They're going to beat us. They're going to turn into snakes or something. Or this kid got sick in my school and he had to go home because he had a staph infection. That's the way they go when they're sick. They're all saying, we're sick and tired of you. They go in there, blah, that's how they feel better, right? Or I was just beginning to take piano lessons. I took those piano lessons. You know those piano lessons. Did you practice? I took those. And I was trying to, right? Yeah? How many of us took those lessons? See? And you wish you kept playing, didn't you? Right, okay. Because you had to learn to read the musical staff. And it was so hard, I thought, I bet those teachers never learned how to read music. And that's where they go in there, staff only. Or, this was during another one of our wars. This is during the Vietnam War. And my dad would watch the television. He would just look at it and yell. And And he was also interested in shows that seemed the most boring to me. He liked the shows where there was one head talking. Blah, 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 blah. And it was always the same head every night, always doing the same thing. And I would walk in, he'd say, shh, this is interesting. I'd say, Dad, he's doing the same thing he did last night. And they would come on, the generals would come on and they would talk about the war, and they were called the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's it, I thought. The teachers go into the teacher's lounge, put army uniforms on, and they practice ordering people around. That's why they're so good at it. But I didn't know for sure because I'd never been in there, and neither had any of my friends. Well, guys, listen. I got in the teacher's lounge. And I'm going to tell you, because I know some of you have never been in there, even adults have never been. I'm going to tell you what goes on in there, and you're not going to believe it. I found out what happens in the teacher's lounge because of what happened on the playground that day. Now, the playground that day, Mrs. Elliott, my second grade teacher, was not the playground monitor. She was in the teacher's lounge. And the playground monitor that day was a third grade teacher. And all of us in second grade were afraid of third grade teachers. As a matter of fact, Delaware Trails Elementary School, they wanted you to be afraid of third grade teachers. They always wanted to be afraid of the teacher in the grade above you. It was part of the educational philosophy. I don't know why. But I knew that it was true. For instance, you get in kindergarten and you're nervous, right? It's a big deal, and you discover she's all right. The kindergarten teacher is fine. It's not scary. And then one day she says, boys and girls, if you do that in first grade, the first grade teachers will rip your lungs out. All of kindergarten, we hear that. By the end of kindergarten, we're like looking to repeat kindergarten, you know? Leave me here with the blocks. But then you get into first grade, and the first grade teacher isn't scary. And then one day she says, boys and girls, attention here, please. If you do this in second grade, they'll pull your fingernails out, one at a time. So we were always afraid of the teacher in the grade above us. I don't know why they wanted it, but that's the way it was. So, at the end of recess, that third grade teacher, who's a playground monitor, she led us into our class. She said, everybody sit down, and we all sat down, you know, because we were afraid of her. But we weren't quiet enough, I guess, so because she walked over and she turned off the light. That was a sign to be very quiet. She said, boys and girls, let's see if we can surprise her with how quiet we are. Surprised by quiet, huh? Okay, she said, she'll be back in just a minute. You stay here very quietly in your seats. She'll be back from the teacher's lounge. And she left, and we were quiet for a long time, like 45 seconds, which is a long time in the life of second grade. And then we heard this noise coming from over by the window. We heard this. We turned to look, it was Warren Brennan. Warren, who never cried, his desk by the window. His head was on his desk. His arms were covering his head so he couldn't see his head. His whole body was just racked with sobs going up, down. We said, Warren, what's wrong? He said, he raised his head. There were tears coming down his face. The dust from the playground was making little mud rivers as they ran down his face. I cut my hand. He'd cut his hand on some piece of playground equipment that didn't meet safety specifications for the state. And when he first cut his hand, it was a tough world back then, I'm telling you. When he cut his hand, it wasn't a bad cut, but it was just, it was a little slice. It was one of those ones that the bleeding doesn't stop. He wiped the blood off. But then it came back. What's so funny about that? Well, he wiped it off again. And so when he first cut his hand, he looked around for Mrs. Elliott, but he didn't see her. All he saw was that third grade teacher. And he knew if he showed it to her, she'd just say, too bad. We were going to cut it off next year anyway. So Warren decided to wait till he got back in the classroom to show it to Mrs. Elliott. And he was sitting there, and he'd waited 45 seconds, and the bleeding hadn't stopped. Now, in second grade, there was a general rule that we intuitively knew, which is when you see blood in the classroom, you can get up. We just knew that. And so all of us just got up as one. This kind of undifferentiated mass of protoplasm. We wandered around the room together, looking for a place to finally come to rest. You know that second grader, like a friend of mine who coaches soccer for that age says, yeah, we don't call it soccer. We call it amoeba ball. So we just kind of wandered around the room until we engulfed Warren. We said, let's see it. Warren went, We said, what do you think, Mike? Because Mike's dad was a doctor. That's how that goes, right? And Mike said, well, Warren, my dad says if you lose 2 pints of blood, you die. I don't want to die. Well, that didn't help. He needed another opinion. Someone said, oh, Warren, you're not going to die. But man, you are going to have stitches, and they hurt. Nothing we offered him seemed to help. Now, you guys know, when you get hurt in school, where do you go? Nurse's office, right. Exactly right, the nurse. But you don't go there by yourself. In 2nd grade, it's 7 miles down there. You could get lost. You needed permission to go down to the nurse's office. But there was no one there to give us permission. This is confusing. Children are trying to live by the rules, and they haven't realized yet that the rules actually don't really work all that well. And they were trying to figure out what to do. We said, oh, somebody had to go get Mrs. Elliott and bring her back so she could look at Warren and take a look at him and send him down to the nurse so the nurse could give him one of the 3 things she was specially trained to dispense: Band-Aid, ice cube, or cough drop. If you hit the jackpot on the playground, you might get all 3, if you're losing all sorts of appendages. And if you were about to die, you actually got to lie down on the magic cot. I go into schools all the time. There's always a kid lying on the cot. What are you doing? I'm dying. 5 minutes later, the nurse says, you okay? Yeah, okay, I'll go back now. So somebody had to go get Mrs. Elliott. But who was going to get her? Well, we knew right away who should get her. We knew that Emily Hornacker should get her. Because Emily Hornacker was Emily Hornacker. And we weren't. Emily Hornacker always did everything right. She always got the right answer. She always got 100s. She always wore a dress at school. She would stand out on the playground. She'd stand on the playground. Don't come near me. I'm neat. And when Mrs. Elliott would say, doesn't anybody know the answer? She'd say, I do. And Mrs. Elliott would say, Emily, thank goodness you're here. And she'd say, I know. Whatever she did was right. So we knew that if she went, it was the right thing to do. We said, Emily, you got to go. She said, no. Why not? No. You have to go, Emily. No, you're not supposed to be in the hall without permission. But there's no one to give permission. No, Warren's dying, Emily. She said, I'm sorry, Warren, you'll just have to wait. We're saying, come on, Emily, come on, please go, please. And then someone says, Emily, what if someone goes with you? And that was when everybody looked at me. Because if someone was going to be in the hallway, why not Bill? He spent half the day in the hallway anyway. I don't mean to say that I was a bad student. I was a good student. I always did everything I was supposed to do. It's just that after I was done, I did a lot more. Here's what would happen to me. I would get into school before school started, and they would give us work. I never understood why we were working before school started, but that's the way it was. I'd be sitting at my desk, doing my work, and after about 10 minutes, my body would say, get up! I'd say, okay. Whoa. I say, what now? My body would say, just walk around, will you? I say, okay, all right. I walk up. All right, okay, I'm walking around. And Mrs. Elliott would say, Bill. I'd say, yeah? She'd say, what are you doing? I'd say, I don't know. Would you please sit down? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I sat down. See, I always did what my teacher told me to do. I sat down, see? After about 5 minutes, my body would say, get up! So I'd get up again. And after about 2.5 weeks, Mrs. Elliott realized without a major brain operation, this was not going to change. And that's when I became her little messenger. Every time she had a message to deliver, and sometimes when she didn't, she sent me in the hallway. She'd say, Bill, why don't you go down to the 4th and 5th grade wing and say hi to the teachers and come back around 2:45. Or once, remember, she gave me a little folded over piece of notebook paper, a half piece, and it had tape on the edge. It was sealed shut. And she said, Bill, take this to Mrs. Yunt in 4th grade, and she might have something for you to do. So I took it down there, and the door was closed to Mrs. Yunt's class, so I stopped, and I just peeled it open to look at it, and it said, "Send him somewhere else." Now, you might think that was mean, but I'm going to tell you, I felt special. I was a special student because she trusted me. No one else got to wander the hallways. And ask any kid, what is one of the best things in school is to wander the hallway while everybody else is imprisoned. Isn't it great? Right? And I was like the mayor, man. Everybody knew me. Hey, there's Bill. Hey, how you doing, right? So, if someone was going to be in the hallway, why not Bill? They said, Bill will go. And Emily said, I don't think so. She just didn't like the idea of being associated with me somehow. I said, come on, Emily, come on. And Warren said, and Mike said, I think he's lost a pint. And she said, oh, all right. I said, great, let's go. We're out in the hallway. I start to run. She says, no running. I said, why not? She said, oh, you might trip and hurt yourself. I said, how did you get so old already? So I started to walk in that very stiff-legged fashion. You know that, no running. You know that, right? And she says, you're running. I said, my legs are straight. And we get up to the first classroom, and the door's open. She says, stop. I said, what? She said, what if they see us? I look in. I say, hi, Miss Considine. She goes, oh, hi, Bill. Emily says, you know her? I said, yeah, it's Miss Considine. She made me stop at the next door and the next door. We got to the kindergarten classes. She said, stop. I said, Emily, the kindergarten teachers, they can't hurt us anymore. It's like a board game. We've made it past there. We don't have to go through that anymore. We're at level 7 now. We got to the office. She said, we'll never make it by the office. There's a lot of adults, and they'll ask us what we're doing. Like saving the life of your classmate isn't really a good reason. I said, Emily, the library's across from the office. She said, so? I said, pretend like you're going to the library and scoot by. She said, did you do that? I said, every day. And we get by the office. We get by the nurse's office, and finally we come to the teacher's lounge. Teacher's lounge, staff only. We just wish that they would sense our presence, outside and open the door. We were afraid to touch it like it had a force field on it. We heard them laughing. I said, I wonder what they're doing in there. Emily said, they're probably preparing for their next class. I said, I don't think it's that much fun. Now we're getting nervous. She says, knock on the door. She looked down at me. She was bigger than me. All the girls in second grade were bigger than me. She said, knock on the door. So bossy. Boom. We heard more laughing. Were they laughing at us? She said, you didn't knock loud enough. You have to knock more than that. Boom, 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 boom. Help! Boom, 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 boom. Help us! Warren's dying! Please help us! We had this image of Warren lying on the classroom floor, life ebbing out of his little frame. Help us! And Emily said, open the door. I said, what? She said, open the door. I said, will you open the door? She said, no. Why not? Because you're not supposed to. I looked up at her. I said, Emily, have you ever done anything you're not supposed to do? She said, no, you're not supposed to. And I said, well, today is your lucky day. She said, I can't. I said, Warren's dying. She said, I don't like you. I said, okay. And there in that moment, Emily had to decide between what she was supposed to do and what she needed to do. And sometimes they're different. She gave me one more dirty look. She reached up for that polished steel doorknob and she twisted it and she pushed it open. We looked in and I said, whoa. And Emily said, oh my goodness. All of the teachers in the school were in that room. All of them. And there were balloons in there too, helium balloons hanging down from the ceiling. And there was crepe paper, brightly colored crepe paper around the edges of the room, and the teachers were standing around these 2 long tables stretched end to end, and on the table there was a cake, a huge cake, or what had once been, it was the remains of a cake, the ruins of a cake were there. And there were teachers there, and they had their fingers filled with icing. And they were not supposed to do that, and they were laughing, and there were tears pouring down their faces, and over by the sink there were 2 empty half-gallon cartons of ice cream, and they were laughing, and one of the teachers, a wild teacher, it must have been a 5th grade teacher, was standing on a chair, standing on school furniture that my parents paid for. And she was laughing, and there were tears coming down her face, and they were applauding and looking at her. Now, I look back at it and say, it was probably her birthday, or maybe she just found out that she was going to have a baby, or something like that. But back then, I looked in there and I said, whoa. Wait till the principal hears about this. Kind of dirty little secret they got going on down in the teacher's lounge. We're back there doing those stupid mimeograph sheets, and they're down here every day having a party. And when I said, whoa, and Emily said, oh my goodness, all the faces turned and looked at us.
Like a coven of witches? We were going to suck your blood out in 5th grade, my pretty. But we'll just do it now.
And Mrs. Elliott separated herself from the other teachers, and she walked over and she looked down at us. She wasn't surprised to see me, big deal, Bill's in the hallway. But Emily, she said, Emily, honey, what are you doing down here? And Emily said, Warren's dying. He cut his hand, and there's blood. And he has to go to the nurse's office, but he can't go until he has permission. And you had to come, and you didn't come, and someone had to come get you. And I didn't want to do it, but they told me I had to. And so I did, and I didn't want to, but I did. And Mrs. Elliott said, honey, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right, it's right. You go back to class, I'll be right there. And she shut the door on us. And we heard them laughing. So there was nothing to do to turn around and go back to our classroom. Walking those 7 miles back down to the classroom, and Emily, she's trying to wipe tears out of her eyes because she doesn't want to know anyone. Doesn't want anyone to know that she's cried. Everybody has cried in school, but nobody knows anybody else has done it. And about halfway back, she just shook her head once and she said, I don't believe what they do in there. We got back to class. What do you think about Warren? Dead, yeah, right. That's why I'm telling you this story. The cautionary tale, the death of a 2nd grader. No, the bleeding had stopped, but he was trying to get us started again. We said, she's coming back. We all ran back to our seats. And 45 seconds later, she walked in the class. She called Warren up to the front of the room. She said, honey, you go down to the nurse's office. He'll take care of you. And he went down, and he came back 7 minutes later with a Band-Aid and a cough drop. But here's what I want to tell you. The stuff that happens to you when you're 7 is important. It's really important because it makes you who you are. You carry it with you your whole life, 7 or 9 or 11 or 12. That's why we got to be so careful with you when you're that age, because it makes you who you are. I found that out because a couple years ago when I went back to Indianapolis, I was doing some school shows. I was driving on with the sound system in the back of the car, and I'd pull up into a school, and I'd set the sound system up underneath the backboard in the cafetorium or the multi-purpose room, right? And I was in this one school I'd never been to before. I'd never been in it. And I was setting up, and this woman came in, a short woman. She was very short. I remember she came up to me, and she said, Bill? I said, yeah. She said, hi. I said, hi. She said, we are so happy you're here. We've been trying to get you here for years. I said, I know. I'm sorry it's so hard. I said, it's kind of cool for me because I grew up here. She said, I know. My name's Emily. I was in your second grade class. I said, Emily Hornacker? She said, that's not my name anymore. I said, wow, you shrunk. No, I didn't say that. She said, do you have a minute? I said, yeah. She said, come with me. I just want to show you something, okay? I said, all right. So we walked out of the room. We walked down the hallway. We walked past the office. We walked past the library and whatever those rooms were. And we came to a door and it was closed and it was shut and there was no windows. And on the door it said, Teacher's Lounge, staff only. And she said, come on in, will you? And she opened the door and all the teachers were in there and they said, hi, surprise. And there were balloons and there was candy and there were cakes and bagels. And they said, we're so happy you're here. We decided to have a party. Emily Hornacker had become a teacher and I knew why. She had become a teacher so she could have a party every day. Thanks, Emily.
Yay! You are listening to Asheville FM at WSFMLP 103.3 Asheville. And we just heard The Teacher's Lounge by Bill Harley. Oh yeah, I love playing that story. It's amazing. Oh yeah, that's like one of his best stories, right up there with Mrs. Ammons and The Boys' Room, which we're not going to play today, sadly, but because it wouldn't really make sense in the time period. We are going to play another story by him called Joey, Chloe, and the Swamp Monsters. It's a very, very different story, but equally great. This is Radioactive Kids. I am Sagan on Asheville FM, and I hope you are enjoying the show.
Once upon a time, there was a boy named Joey and a girl named Chloe. And they were twins, brother and sister. And they lived in the house with their mother and father. And behind the house was their backyard. And behind the backyard was the swamp. Don't forget about the swamp. Every day they put their sneakers on and run around the backyard in the mud and the muck and the dust and the dirt, and those sneakers got dirty and then they got holy, and sometimes Joey and Chloe would be in such a hurry to play they wouldn't even put their socks on. They just put those sneakers on and they'd run around in the mud and the muck and the dust and the dirt, and those sneakers got dirtier and holier and they began to smell. And finally they smelled so bad. One day Joey and Chloe came in the back door and their mother said, "Oh, take those things off and leave them on the back porch." So they went out on the back porch. They took them off and they left them there. But this was in the summer. And the family would be sitting at the kitchen table having their dinner. And the back door would be open, just the screen door closed. And the smell of those sneakers would rise and float through the little holes of the screen across the kitchen and float underneath the noses of the people that were eating dinner. And they would all say, "Whoa, what's that? Ooh, what died?" Until finally, their mother said, "I can't stand it. Get in the car. It's time for new sneakers." So they got in the backseat of the car, and their mother drove them to the shoe store. And they came in the shoe store, and they looked up on the wall, and there on the wall were thousands of pairs of sneakers, more sneakers than Joey and Chloe had ever seen before in their whole life. And the most expensive pair of sneakers in that store was $27 bazillion. And the cheapest pair of sneakers in that store was $248. But they saw the expensive ones, they didn't want those. They saw the cheap ones, they didn't want those. No. Right away, when they walked in the store, all four of their eyes locked on the same pair of sneakers. They were beautiful. They were bright orange and green and hot pink, and they glowed in the dark. They had super cantilevered, elevated, double-cushioned, hyperventilated soles, 17 racing stripes running back and forth sidewise, slantwise. It made them look like they were going 89 miles an hour without moving. 54-inch shoelaces and straps of Velcro. And when Joey and Chloe saw those sneakers, they pointed up and they said, "Mom, Mom, 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 those are the sneakers. Those are the ones. We want those." And their mother said, "No, they cost $18,000. They said, "Mom, Mom, Mom, if we don't get those sneakers, we'll just die." She said, I'm sorry to hear that. Mom, if you get us those sneakers, we'll walk the dog. You're already supposed to do that. We'll take out the garbage. You're supposed to do that. Mom, if you get us those sneakers, we won't whine for a whole week. Their mother said, it's a deal, but I don't want you to get those sneakers dirty. And Joey and Chloe said, Mom, we would never do that. And their mother rolled her eyes and said, yeah, right. And so their mother bought them the sneakers, the ones that were bright orange and green and hot pink and glowed in the dark with the super cantilevered, elevated, double-cushioned, hyperventilated soles, 17 racing stripes running back and forth sidewise, slantwise, and made them look like they're going 89 miles an hour without moving, 54-inch shoelaces and straps of Velcro. And the man in the store brought out shoe boxes, and he opened up the shoe boxes to put the sneakers in, and there was orange tissue paper in the shoe boxes, and the shoe boxes were almost as cool as the sneakers themselves. Joey and Chloe took those boxes, and they climbed into the back seat of the car. $36,000 worth of sneakers in the back seat of the car, and their mother drove them home. And they ran in the house, and they opened up the boxes, and they pulled back the orange tissue paper, and they put those sneakers on, and they ran around and around and around in the house. They were a blur. They ran upstairs, downstairs, up in the attic, down in the basement, until finally they came in the kitchen. They said, Mom, can we run in the backyard with these? She said, no. Those are your church sneakers. They said, Mom, we'll just die. She said, I'm sorry to hear that. Mom, we'll walk the dog. You're supposed to do that. We'll take out the garbage. You're supposed to do that. Mom, we will not whine for 2 whole weeks. She said, that's too good to believe. It's a deal. But don't you get them dirty, and don't go in the swamp with them. And Joe and Chloe said, Mom, we would never do that. And their mother said, yeah, right. Joey and Chloe opened up the back door, and they ran into the backyard. And they began to run around and around and around in great sweeping circles. They were a blur running around the backyard. They ran around the house, into the front yard, into the backyard, into the front yard. They ran through their neighbor's yard, around their house, running in great swooping circles. They had never run so fast in their entire lives until finally they ran to the very edge of the backyard, and they stopped. They looked out into the swamp. And Chloe said, Joey, look. Joey looked where Chloe was pointing. There, just a little way into the swamp, only 4 or 5 feet, down a little narrow path, was a beautiful flower. The most beautiful flower Joey and Chloe had ever seen. Strangely colored, strangely misshapen. Joey said, wow. Chloe said, let's get it for Mom. We're not supposed to go in the swamp. Chloe said, she won't know. Let's get it for her. It's pretty. Joey said, okay. They decided to go into the swamp. Let me tell you about the swamp. The kids in the neighborhood said, swamp monsters live in the swamp. The grown-ups said, it's just your imagination. Kids said that swamp monsters lived in the swamp because sometimes they'd be lying in their bed at night, and the window would be open. They'd sit up in their beds, and they'd hear this sound coming from the swamp. All these sounds. And they would call to their parents, Mom and Dad, there's swamp monsters in the swamp. You can hear them. And their parents would call back, it's just your imagination. Go to sleep. Or sometimes they'd be playing baseball in somebody's backyard, and somebody would hit the ball. It would land in the swamp. Oh, no, somebody would say, it went in the swamp again. Who's going to get it? Some kid would say, I'll get it. And he'd wade into the swamp. He came to the place where the ball was supposed to be. He'd look down, he'd say, it's gone. Swamp monster got the ball. That night at the dinner table, the kids would say, the swamp monster got our baseball. But the parents would say, it's just your imagination. Kids said swamp monster. Parents said, imagination. So, very carefully, so as not to get those new sneakers dirty, Joey and Chloe stepped down that path and walked only 4 or 5 feet into the swamp. And Joey knelt down to pull the flower to give it to their mother. When Chloe said, "Wait, look." Joey looked down the path a little further where Chloe was pointing, and they saw another flower, more beautiful than the first. Chloe said, "Let's go get that one." So they went to get that one. They were just about to pick it when they saw another and another and another, deeper and deeper into the swamp, each flower more beautiful than the last, until they got deep in the swamp, deeper than they had ever been before. And they came upon the most beautiful, strangely misshapen and colored flower they had ever seen. The color of the flower was so strange, so different, it didn't even have a name. Chloe said, "This has got to be it. Let's get it and get out of here." Joey said, "All right." And he knelt down to pluck it at its base, when something or someone said, "Boogity, boogity, boogity." And Joey said, "Did you say something?" Chloe said, "No." Joey said, "Oh, I thought you said boogity, boogity, boogity." And he knelt down to pull it again. "Boogity, boogity, boogity." Joey looked up at Chloe, and Chloe said, And they both turned around and looked up. It was a swamp monster. It had long, swampy fingers, long, swampy toes, long, swampy hair, long, swampy nose, and it dangled its long arms over them and said, "Boogity, boogity, boogity." And Joey and Chloe said, "Ah!" And they turned and they ran. They ran like the wind. Unfortunately, behind them, they heard the swamp monster, boogity, 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 and they could smell its hot swamp breath on them. Boogity, 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 boogity. "Run faster," said Chloe. "I am," said Joey. And they ran. They ran fast. After all, they had sneakers that ran 89 miles an hour without moving. Boogity, 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 boogity. They could hear it coming close behind them. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Breathing its hot swamp breath. Boogity, boogity, boogity. "We're gonna get caught," said Joey. "Let's take the shortcut," said Chloe. They left the path. Bad idea, but they did. They came to a very subibilant part of the swamp. They waded through it, hot behind them. Boogity, 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 boogity. They came to a very stimulus part of the swamp. Boogity, boogity, boogity. They came to the most barsnickerous part of the swamp. Their feet were moving slower and slower. Boom, boom, boom. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Until finally their feet and the brand new sneakers got stuck. Boogity, 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 boogity. Joey said, "Oh no, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?" Chloe said, "There's only one thing we can do." "What's that?" "Do what I do." Joey looked at Chloe as she knelt down and undid the straps of Velcro and untied the 54-inch shoelaces and pulled her stocking feet out of her new sneakers. And Joey did the same. They left those new sneakers, the ones their mother had just bought them only hours before, there in the barsnickerous part of the swamp, and they waded through the swamp until they found the path. They ran down the path. They ran as fast as they could. They listened for the swamp monster, but they didn't hear him. They ran through the swamp in their bare feet until they reached their backyard. They ran across their backyard, up the steps of the porch. Across the porch, they opened up the back door. They ran into the kitchen and slammed the door. Whomp! They went upstairs. They took off those wet, stinky, dirty socks. They washed them off in the bathroom sink. They took those socks. They hung them out the window of their bedroom and pushed the window down onto the socks so they could hang out to dry. And then they heard their mother say, "Okay, kids, dinner time. Come on down." Joey and Chloe went down to the kitchen table and sat in their bare feet with their feet far under their table. Joey and Chloe's mother came and sat down, And their father said, well, 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 I heard we did a little shopping today. Let's see what we got. And then he did what they hoped he wouldn't do. He looked under the table. Hey, you kids are in your bare feet. Go upstairs and put your new sneakers on. Joey said, no, Dad, we'll do it later. Chloe said, yeah, we could do that later. Their dad said, no, I want to see what we max the credit card on. Go put them on. Joey said, no, not a good idea. Chloe said, yeah, Dad, we're kids. We'd probably spill food on our new shoes. He said, no, go upstairs and put them on right now. Joey said, well, if we go upstairs, we can't put them on. Chloe said, yeah, because they're not there. At which point, their mother said, where are your new sneakers? Joey said, what? Chloe said, what? Where are your new sneakers? Oh, don't worry, they said. We know where they are. Where are they? They're not upstairs, but we know where they are. Tell me where they are. Don't worry, Mom. We know where are they? Don't worry, Mom. They're just in the swamp. What? She said. Didn't I tell you not to go in the swamp? And Joey said, yeah, you did, and we heard you, and we didn't at first. Chloe said, no, because we didn't, because we always do what you tell us to do and don't do what you tell us not to do. We don't do it, and we didn't at first, but then Mom, we saw this flower. It was just a little bit of the way in the swamp, and we wanted to give it to you because it was beautiful, and so are you. And then we went to pick it, but then we saw another one, and that was more beautiful than the first, and so were you, so we went to get that one, but then there was another one, and then there was another one, and then there was another one, and then we came to this really beautiful flower. We'd never seen anything like it, Mom, and we wanted to give it to you because we loved you so much, and we were about to pick it, but then this swamp monster came and said, boogity, 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 and it started chasing. We ran through this very suburban part of the swamp, this very Snickers part of the swamp, and we got stuck, and we thought we were going to get eaten alive by the swamp monster, and we remembered that you said people are always more important than things, so we took off the sneakers, and we waded through the swamp, and we got on the path, and we ran in the backyard and up the steps, and here we are. Aren't you happy to see us? And their mother rose from the kitchen table, towering over them, and said, Joey and Chloe, you go out on that back step, and you put on those dirty, holy, stinky sneakers, and you march right back into the swamp to get those new sneakers. Joey said, yeah, Mom, great idea. Chloe said, but what about the swamp monster? And their mother looked at them with her beady eyes and said, who would you rather deal with, the swamp monster or your mother? Joey looked at Chloe. Chloe looked at Joey. They both looked at their dad. He said, tough choice. And then they got up from the kitchen table. They walked out the back door. They sat down on the back porch, and they put those dirty, holy, stinky sneakers on. What time is it in this story now? Right after dinner time. What's happening outside? Right, it's getting dark. Good time to go into the swamp? I don't think so. But they did. As soon as they stepped onto that path into the swamp and started to walk into it, they heard the sounds of the swamp as if they were rising up together like a living thing. Joey said, what's that? Chloe said, just your imagination. They walked on further until they came to the Snickers part of the swamp. They came to the place where the sneakers were, and they looked down. They weren't there. Joey said, Chloe, what are we going to do? Chloe said, who would you rather deal with? Joey said, you're right. Let's go get the sneakers. Just at that moment, their mother and father had gotten up from the kitchen table, and their mom walked over to the back door, and she looked out the screen door. She saw that it was getting dark, and she said, oh, look, it's getting dark. I knew I shouldn't have sent him out there. I was just so angry. I just got the sneakers, and, honey, it's getting dark. Would you go get them? And their father said, what? Could you go get them before it gets dark? He walked to the screen. He looked out. He said, oh, no, honey, I'm sure they're going to be fine out there. They won't go in too deep. It'll be fine. And their mom said, what was that? Did you hear something? And he said, no, honey, that's nothing. That was just your imagination. And Joey and Chloe walked deeper and deeper into the swamp. All those sounds of the swamp, they were working together like it was one huge living thing, this pulsing, living, breathing thing. All of the sounds of the swamp, all of the living things there working together as one. And then, up ahead, they saw something glowing. Joey said, "What do you think that is?" Chloe said, "Maybe our sneakers?" Joey said, "I don't think they glow that much." As they came closer and closer, they realized that all the sounds, all the pulsing, all that noise that seemed to be some kind of strange, wonderful music seemed to be coming from just ahead of them, until finally they reached the edge of a great clearing in the heart of the swamp. And they looked out into the great clearing, and they stopped breathing for just a moment because they saw a great circle of swamp monsters dancing around in a circle. And they were juggling lost things that had been dumped in the swamp and left behind for lost. They were juggling old bicycle frames and old car tires, passing them over the shoulders to the swamp monster behind them in the circle, and old baseballs and old refrigerator doors. And they were dancing and singing, and in the center of the circle was the largest swamp monster, the great swamp monster, and he was leading them all as they were dancing and singing, and hanging from a hole in each of his ears were Chloe's new sneakers, and hanging from a hole in his nose were Joey's new sneakers, and they were dancing and singing together, all of them one huge cacophony of sound, one symphony, all singing together that great swamp monster song. You put your right foot in, you take your right foot out, you put your right foot in, and then you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Boogity, boogity, Chloe said, "I don't believe it." Joey said, "How come he had to hang my sneakers from his nose? What are we gonna do?" Chloe said, "What do you mean, Joey? We didn't come all this way to turn back, did we? Don't you want the sneakers?" Joey said, "You're right, Chloe. I hate to do it, but we're gonna have to go in there." And they stepped into the clearing with the swamp monsters singing and dancing in a circle. They walked right through that circle. They walked right up to the great swamp monster with the music pulsing and dancing. And they said, "Excuse me," and the music just stopped. And the great swamp monster looked down at them and said, "Boogity, boogity, boogity." And all the other swamp monsters slid closer and leaned over them and said, "Boogity, boogity, boogity." And Joey said, "Right, yeah, boogity, boogity. We have to talk to you about something." And Chloe said, "Yeah, it's those things hanging from your ears and your nose. Those are ours." And the great swamp monster fiddled with those sneakers on his nose and ears and said, "Boogity, boogity, boogity." And the other swamp monsters slid even closer and said, "Boogity, boogity, boogity." Joey said, "Right, boogity, boogity. We have to have those back because they're ours." Chloe said, yeah, we got to get them back now because, Mom just paid $36,000 for them and she wants them because, we don't want her to be mad. The great swamp monster said, "Boogity, boogity, boogity." The swamp monster slid closer. They dangled their long, fetid, fibrous, filabrated fingers over Joey and Chloe. Joey said, "Chloe, this doesn't seem to be working." And the swamp monster slid closer. "Boogity, boogity, boogity." And Chloe said, "I got an idea." "What?" "Do what I do." "What's that?" "Just do what I do." And very carefully, very slowly, so as not to upset any of the swamp monsters, Chloe knelt down and she untied the shoelace of one of her dirty, holy, stinky sneakers, and she pulled it off, and she held it up to the great swamp monster and said, "You want to trade?" The great swamp monster looked down. And then he reached out with his two long, fetid, fibrous, fibrated fingers, because that was all he had. And he grabbed hold of the sneaker, and he looked at it. Then he took his long, swampy nose, and he stuck it deep into Chloe's stinky, holy, dirty sneaker. Boogity, boogity, boogity. And he passed it around to the other swamp monsters, and they all smelled it. Boogity, boogity, boogity. And Chloe took off her other one and passed it around. And Joey said, "Mine are worse or better." And he took them both off. And the great swamp monster smelled those. Boogity, boogity, boogity. And he passed them all the way around the circle. And every swamp monster took a big sniff of them. Until they went all the way around the circle. And they came back to the great swamp monster. And he clutched them to his breast. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Joey said, "Right. Now, you give us the other ones back to trade." Joey said, No, it was a trade. Chloe said, yeah, we get the new ones, you get the old ones. No, boogity, boogity, boogity. Joey said, "Come on, you gotta be fair." Chloe said, "Yeah, come on, a deal's a deal." Deal. Chloe said, "Be fair." Come on. And then the great swamp monster reached up and he untied one of the sneakers from his ear and handed it to Chloe. Chloe said, "Both of them." He untied the second and handed it back. "Mine too," said Joey. He untied them. From his nose, he wiped his fingers across his chest and handed them back to Joey. Joey said, "Thanks." Chloe said, "Thanks." And then the great swamp monster held up those dirty, holy, stinky sneakers high in the air, high in the night sky. And he said, "Boogity, boogity, boogity." And all the other swamp monsters waved their long arms and said, "Boogity, boogity, boogity, boogity." And Joey and Chloe said, "Yeah, right." And they stepped out of the circle of swamp monsters. And as soon as they did, the music started again, pulsing, playing, the swamp coming back to life. Joey and Chloe said, "Thanks, we'll see ya." And they left the clearing, clutching those new sneakers, walking with their bare feet through the swamp until they found the path. And then they began to run. They ran down the path, and as they ran, Joey said, "Listen, Chloe, listen, you can hear them. They're singing. They sound happier than before." Chloe said, "Right." They ran through the swamp, down the path in their bare feet, clutching those new sneakers, those $36,000 worth of new sneakers, until they came into the backyard. They ran up the steps of the porch, across the porch. They opened up the door. They came in. Their mom was at the sink. They said, "Mom, Mom, look, here they are." Their mother turned and looked down at her children and their new sneakers, and she said, "Oh, you guys, they are all dirty." "It's all right. You leave them out on the back porch. We'll clean them tomorrow. Now you guys go upstairs and take a bath. You're dirty and you smell." And so Joey and Chloe took those new sneakers out on the back porch, the new ones, the ones they just gotten that day. They were bright green and orange and hot pink and glowed in the dark, with the super cantilevered, elevated, double-cushioned, hyperventilated soles, with the 17 racing stripes running back and forth sidewise, slaunchwise, made them look like they're going 89 miles an hour without moving, the 54-inch shoelaces and the straps of Velcro. And they left them on the back porch. And they went inside. They went upstairs. They both took baths. They put on their pajamas. They brushed their teeth. They got into bed. It was a hot night, so they opened up the window, and those socks fell. Did you remember the socks? And they got back in their beds, and then they sat up in their beds because they heard it. They heard the sounds of the swamp pouring into their bedroom, filling up the night sky, filling up the room, filling up the world with those strange, bizarre sounds. They sat up in the beds, but this time they had smiles on their faces, and they said, "Mom, Dad, listen, you can hear them. You can hear the swamp monsters." And their parents called up, "It's just your imagination." And Joey and Chloe said, "Yeah, right."
You put your right foot in and take your right foot out. You put your right foot in and then you shake it all around. And a hooky boogie and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all around. Yeah, 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 yeah. Boogity, 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 bum, bum, bum. Boogity, 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 bum. Boogity, 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 bum. You know it. We like to roll in a swamp. Oh,
Arg.
I grew up on the north side of Indianapolis, and there was a park near my house, and there was a big field. We used to have pickup football games and pickup baseball games, and there was some woods there too, and there were some trails, and there were some hills, and it was where we used to go sledding. As a matter of fact, there was the biggest hill in the area was there, and we gave it a name. We called it Mammoth Hill because it was the biggest hill, and we would sled down it, and only an idiot would sled down it, so we did, you know. And I went back to Indianapolis a couple years ago to do some shows, and I drove through my neighborhood, and I came to the park, Murat Park. I said, "Oh, wow, Murat Park." So I pulled over, I got out of the car, and I walked through the big open field where we played baseball and football and frisbee. I walked through the woods, and then I said, "What happened to, where did Mammoth Hill go? Where's Mammoth Hill?" And then I realized I was standing on it. Somehow it had gotten smaller in my mind, but it actually had gotten bigger in my mind and smaller in reality somehow, you know, and I was struck by that, how my memories had just gotten bigger and bigger in my head. And when I got back home, I sat down one day and I wrote this piece, and I'm going to do it for you now. It's called The Great Sled Race. People, let me tell you, I was almost 9. I got the gift of my dreams at Christmas time. Came down the stairs, it was under the tree. It was a brand new sled just for me. Deluxe model. Took up half the living room floor. Wondered how they got it down the chimney. It was 6 feet long from its head to its toe, painted stealth black. It disappeared in the snow. Teflon runners, handles to steer, 4 afterburners sticking out of the rear. Man, it was fast. My dad said I needed a license just to sit on it. Well, I called up my friend to tell him about it. "I got a new sled," I screamed and shouted. "It's the fastest sled in the USA. It'll blow any sled you got away." "I doubt it," he said. "I got a new sled too. It'll blow your doors off." "My sled doesn't have doors," I said. "It's a convertible." My friend said, "Bill, I got a sled. It'll steal your face right off your head. It's the fastest sled that you've ever seen, or my name isn't Danny Goldstein." When'd you get it? I said. He said, yesterday. I said, how come? He said, don't you know, Bill? Yesterday was the first day of Hanukkah. I said, oh, I didn't know that. He said, how come you got yours? I said, oh, today's Christmas. He said, really? I hadn't noticed. That holiday just kind of sneaks right up on you, doesn't it? Then he said, okay, buddy, now we'll see. We're gonna have a race, you and me. I'll beat you bad with my sled and my skill. I challenge you to a race down Mammoth Hill. Mammoth Hill, tallest hill in town. Taller than Mount Everest. No one had ever survived a sled race down it, but we didn't care, because we were stupid. Mammoth Hill started at the edge of our town. It stretched for 3 miles on its way down. It crossed Main Street. It took a swerve, came to an end at Dead Man's Curve. I always thought that was a funny name for a curve. Didn't find out why they named it that till later on in the story. That very night, I was safe and warm, but the wind picked up. The big snowstorm came down from the north with an icy blow, dumped on us 12 feet of snow. Over the gutters, over the rooftops, over the telephone poles. Don't worry, I always tell the truth. I'm a storyteller. Besides that, I'm not running for office. The very next morning, the sun came out. The snow started to melt. I started to shout. I waxed down my runners. It gave me a thrill to think about the race down Mammoth Hill. I pulled my sled down the street with a nod and a wave to everybody I'd meet. The word was out everywhere, every place. Everybody knew about the big race. It was bigger than the Super Bowl. It was bigger than the World Cup. It was bigger than the Delaware Trail Elementary School Science Fair. That's big. It took me 3 hours without a stop to pull my sled to the very top. I sat down on the sled to catch my breath. I looked down the hill, man. I was scared to death. I couldn't even see the bottom. Clouds in the way. Airplanes passing beneath my feet. Had to put on the oxygen mask that had been provided with the sled as a free accessory. Well, Danny showed up just about then. I was gonna brag about my sled again. Said, I got the best sled, it's so fine. And I saw his sled was just like mine. Something like that'll mess a kid all up. Hanukkah sleds and Christmas sleds the same. That's very confusing. Ecumenical sleds, who knows where that ends? People talking to each other. Well, Danny saw it the same as me. He said, okay, buddy, now we'll see. The sleds are the same. Now it's just skill that wins the race down Mammoth Hill. Beneath this bright red snowsuit forced upon me by my mother is a physique not unlike that of Arnold Schwarzenegger. That joke's just not as funny as it used to be, all right? Oh yeah, I said? Oh yeah, said he. Oh yeah, I said? Oh yeah, said he. Oh yeah, 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 oh yeah. Took me a long time to write that part. Danny and I always had very intelligent conversations. Danny said, the race can now begin. Down at the bottom, may the best man win. We pulled the sleds to the top of the rise. We pulled our goggles over our eyes. The crowd was huge. They cheered and yelled. They blew on trumpets. They rung out bells. They hung out banners. They hung out signs. Some on his side, some on mine. All right. There's just 3 other kids there, including my little brother, cheering for Danny, till somehow his head got stuck in the snowbank. On your mark, somebody said. I held my breath. They said, get set. Then everybody hollered, go! They gave us a shove through the ice and snow, and down we went, picking up speed, obeying the laws of physics. Those sleds were fast, those sleds were quick, those Teflon-coated runners slick. Faster, faster, down I sped. Where was Danny? I turned my head, he was right beside me. We were nose to nose. We were neck and neck. Snow boot and snow boot. A quarter way down, we hit a bump. It acted like some alpine jump. Both our sleds went up in the air. We held on tight. We didn't care. We were flying like two birds, like two planes, like two idiots. I told you we were stupid. When we came down, we bounced and bumped. The next thing I knew, I was on my rump. Still on the sled, but turned around, looking uphill, headed down. Danny facing the same way, watching the top of the hill recede in the distance. Whoa, said Danny. Whoa, said I. I think that I am going to die. I looked at Danny. He gave me a grin. He said, I might die, but first, I'll win. He put on the afterburner. I put on mine too. What could I do? My mom used to say to me, if he told you to jump off a cliff, would you do it? I guess so. I did. We headed down backward under rocket power at speeds exceeding 200 miles an hour. The runners were screaming, the wind was blowing. I turned around to see where we were going, and that's when I saw her crossing the street. Mrs. Tarbuckle, the wife of Mr. Tarbuckle, our school principal. We dug our feet into the passing snow, but the sleds didn't stop, they didn't slow. We had no brakes, we had no shocks. Our boots wore through right clear to our socks. The smell of burning rubber filling the town. Get out of the way, Danny cried. Get out of the way, or you're gonna die. Get out of the way, Danny yelled. Get out of the way, or we'll be expelled. Mrs. Tarbuckle didn't hear him. She just kept crossing the street with her little dog, Fifi, looking for a place to do its business. Finally, Mrs. Tarbuckle saw our sleds. Her eyes popped right out of her head. And somewhere there in the intersection, we hit her right in her midsection. Up she went in the air, turning somersaults. Little Fifi turning somersaults too, attached to the leash. Looked like Jupiter and one of its orbiting moons. The next thing I know, something hits my chest. I don't know north from south or east or west. The sleds are crowded. There's not much space because Mrs. Tarbuckle's joined the race. Sprawled across both sleds. Little Fifi running after us or getting dragged. It was kind of hard to tell which. All of us headed down together, shouting over the tundra of central Indiana. Ah! Now, though we knocked Mrs. Tarbuckle off her feet, I must tell you folks, she was not petite. She was round in nature, large and heavy. And we picked up speed like a 2-ton Chevy. Truck, or tractor trailer, some other unheavenly body. Hundreds of people screamed and cried, dodged for cover as we went by. Faster, faster, down, 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 through the outskirts into town. I steered that sled both straight and true. I thought that I just might get through. I steered with skill, I steered with nerve. Then up ahead I saw it. Dead man's curve. I see that curve a-coming. My hair stood on end. White were my knuckles. I heard a scream from Mrs. Tarbuckle. Get me off this thing, you two! Don't worry, said Danny, we're almost through. Just the last foot or so I'm a little bit worried about. The snow was banked there at the turn. We twisted our sleds, the runners churned. But the curve was sharp, the speed was great. Our sleds turned too little, too late. We're not gonna make it! I cannot tell you just what passed. I thought those moments were my last. I remembered the snow in my face and my eyes. I remembered coming to, looking up in the sky, thinking, am I dead? Am I in heaven? And I remembered what I'd done to Mrs. Tarbuckle, and I thought, probably not. Danny lay beside, and his eyes were open wide. Our twisted sleds lay side by side. We raised our heads, we could see Mrs. Tarbuckle up in a tree. Little Fifi up there too, hanging from the leash, like a little Christmas ornament. What's she doing up there? Said Danny. I said, I don't know. Maybe she likes to climb trees. So we shook the cobwebs from out of our heads. We picked up our twisted, ruined sleds. The race was a tie, there had been no harm. We walked home arm in arm. After we helped Fifi and Ms. Tarbuckle down with a little help from the fire department. So Danny and I are living still. We survived our race down Mammoth Hill. Though back in school we had to stay inside from recess till sometime in May. Wiping off the blackboard, cleaning off the lunch tables, writing 15,000 times, I will stop my sled at all intersections. I gave up riding sleds after that, guys, though. It's just too dangerous. I took up safer things. Bungee jumping, skydiving, mountain climbing, telling stories. But then I told you guys at the beginning of this, I'm stupid.
Yay! That is The Great Sled Race by Bill Harley. And I know it's not seasonally appropriate, but who cares? It's so awesome. I love it so much. That was wonderful. That is also from his album, Yes to Running, his live album that he released way back in 2008, I believe. Before that, we heard Joey, Chloe, and the Swamp Monsters from his amazing album, Blah, 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 Stories About Clams, Swamp Monsters, Pirates, and Dogs. That was released in 2005. And that's pretty much it for this edition of Radioactive Kids. Coming up next is something else with Ernesto, but we're not done yet. We have something awesome to finish off the show. This group from Chicago called the Lucky Trikes. They just sent me their an EP that they came out with. It was 4 songs, so we're only going to play 3 of them. They do like crazy, weird, like jazzy chamber music for kids, and I think you'll really enjoy the songs on this EP. And oh, by the way, I have it on vinyl. It's going to be awesome. It is a record. It's brand new, and it is cool. We're going to play Astray, the Train song, and Face Your Monsters is the last song we're going to play. Well, thank you all for tuning in. I am Sagan. This is Radioactive Kids. Remember, you can check the show out anywhere you get your podcast if you want to listen to it again and again and again and again and again. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram and make a request at those places. Thanks, y'all. It has been great hanging out with y'all once again. And tune in next week when we will interview Fred Penner. Thank you. Bye-bye. This is Asheville FM.
Hey, kitty cat, where'd you come from? Saw you down the street the other day. Hey, kitty cat, where you headed to? Some say you're a scrawny old stray. Hey, kitty cat, do you have a name? Would you like good food for a change? Hey, kitty cat, you don't want to hear this, but I think you need a bath. Hey, kitty cat. Meow. Hey, kitty cat. Meow. Hey, kitty cat. Meow. get set. It's okay if you're timid and shy for a bit, but with a little love, you'll be a hit. Hey, kitty cat, you were once a stray, but we love you and you're here to stay. Hey, kitty cat. Meow. Hey, kitty cat. Meow. Hey, kitty cat. Meow. Hey, kitty cat. Meow.
All aboard!
We're on a train, a big old train, going down the line, track 29, moving along, singing our song, getting around, leaving town, from New York to LA, through Chicago to Chattanooga.
Stop!
There's something up ahead, crossing the track. A family of ducks going quack, quack, quack. Slowly they waddle and move along, letting us go on with a choo-choo song. We're on a train, a big old train, going down the line, track 29, moving along, singing our song, getting around, leaving town, from New York to LA, through Chicago to Chattanooga.
Stop!
There's a herd of cows going moo, 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 putting a halt to our choo-choo. Slowly they walk and move along. They don't even know that they're part of this song. We're on a train.
Is there something eking, tweaking?
Something always eking, creaking.
Under the bed, filling up your head.
With thoughts of moaning, groaning, lonesome roaming.
Perhaps it's at the bottom stair.
Of the basement where they glare.
Perhaps it's in the attic.
Windows rattle, gutters twang.
From the wind and rhythmic rain.
Do you hear bumps in the night?
Well, I too am given fright.
Here we are, your faithful cantors.
We will help you face your monsters. Face your monsters. Face your monsters. Face your monsters. the dark is something awfully trite. So try to focus on the light. No matter how thin, no matter how dim. You must muster all your might. Yet with the voice of us, your faithful cantors, we will help you face your monsters. Face your monsters. Face your monsters. Face your monsters.
Johnny Grotto was a fisherman's son. Yeah, 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 my boy. And Johnny Grotto was a fisherman's son. 'Twas a long time ago. The sea is so rough and the Saint pull him tough. Yeah, 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 my boy. The sea is so rough and the Saint pull him tough. 'Twas a long time ago. The man is out there, we go keep them at bay. Yeah, 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 my boy. The man is out there, we go keep them at bay. It was a long time ago. The land is in sight, we go reach before night. Yeah, 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 my boy. The land is in sight, we go reach before night. It was a long time ago. He catch plenty fish, we go cook a nice dish. Yeah, 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 my boy. He catch plenty fish, we go cook a nice dish. It was a long time ago.
Oh, by the way, that was the Dan Zanes featuring the Sandy Girls and a song called Long Time Ago from C Music. See you next week. Thanks. This is Sagan. Bye.